there we go. Check, check. Is it doing anything? Join as speaker. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, perfect. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Just waiting on hopefully a couple more people to join. I just texted Mary Kay to see if she could help spread the word. So I had quite a few people signed up, and then I hosted the space, and X has been completely fucked up all day. So it
Yeah,
immediately crashed, and it said here's a recording of your space that no one was at. But great, that's very helpful. Thank you, Elon.
That is indeed very helpful. Yeah, no, Twitter has a tendency to just randomly brick for no apparent reason. So
Yeah, especially this last week or so. But yeah,
yeah,
I'll give another like maybe 1 or 2 minutes, see if anyone else will join, and then we'll get started.
sure. I'm gonna go grab some water real quick then.
I see Hazel pulled herself away from her video games long enough to join. That's good.
All right, I'm back. All right, let's fucking do this. It's gonna be a nice little metaphorical walk in the park. Metaphorical. Let me put this off to the side. Actually, low key. Hold up.
Cool. Well, we
Cooking.
can go ahead and get started then. Sorry, I was just shooting a text to Mary Kate. She's going to be a little bit late, but that's okay. She can find out later if she's a murderer or not. So everyone listening right now is a close personal friend of mine that already knows me. So I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself. I don't think they need to hear from me.
Heard. I am Bones of Doom. I am a Twitch streamer, hobbyist. I mostly do World of Warcraft streams at the moment, time permitting, and on the off occasion, I like to do a few debates, have a few politics streams every now and then. Lately, it's been a little bit of flat Earth, and then now I'm back on the trans arc. So this is going to be fun.
Nice. Well, happy to have you, and thanks for coming. I've done like 2 of these so far, and I've really enjoyed it. Other people maybe not so much. But we had a little back and forth via DM very briefly, and I told you my only real role is just don't talk and scream over each other. If I'm monologuing and getting really heated about something, and you're like, "Hey, dude, shut up for a second so I can get a word in," that's perfectly fine. Just don't.
Okay, gotcha.
I had one of these where some guy was like, "Ah," just screaming the entire time, not letting me talk, and that's not something I'm interested in. But yeah, we'll have some back and forth. Neither of us are gonna be talking for 2 minutes straight. That's just annoying to everyone listening. And obviously, we're both being very cordial right now because we're adults and nice people. But we're talking about heated topics, and we're going to be calling each other murderers. And you're welcome to get heated if you get heated. You're welcome to say things you want to say. You don't need to feel like you're going to hurt my feelings. The only rule is don't speak over me. You can call me whatever names you want.
Cool, perfect.
Um, so yeah, just to get started for everyone, how this came about is Mary Kate Delvey, who most of you know, if not all of you know, posted a post regarding the unfortunate suicide of someone. I actually don't know very much about this person. My understanding is this was a minor who was trans-identifying that killed themselves. I actually don't even know the gender of this person. It's not a story I've read up on. But Mary Kate posted about it, and her sentiment was one that I share, which is basically so sad that another young life of a vulnerable person was taken by this ideology. And then Mr. Bones of Doom commented or quote tweeted or whatever mechanism commented.
Actually, do
Calling
you
Mary
want me to
Kate
read it
also.
myself? Hold on, I can read it
Yeah,
myself
sure, go ahead.
I still hold this view. I'm 100%. Let me roll with it real quick. To add a little bit of I guess dramatic flair or whatnot. But no, where are you? I tweet way too much. Holy fuck. Oh yeah, here we go. So, despicable pigs like Mary Kate are the reason why we see such a high suicide rate for trans people. She fuels the anti-trans hatred that plagues the lives of every trans person. This phony sense of mourning is only a show to further perpetuate her hatred. It's pathetic. I stand by that 100%.
Yeah, and so then we got into it, and I forgot what spicy words I used, but they were equally, if not more spicy than yours. But spicy words aside, I'll tell you my take on this issue that I outlined in that tweet, and then we can, I guess, kind of get into it. And correct me if I'm wrong. Your take is basically that gender affirming care improves the mental health outcomes of trans identifying people, and that these procedures, whether it's medical or whether it's social, whether it's letting a male student wear a dress and have she her pronouns and go by a female name in class, or whether it's giving puberty blockers, or whether it's giving testosterone to young women who are identifying as male, or whether it's surgeries like giving young women double mastectomies, giving young men, I don't even know how to pronounce the word, like orchidectomy or whatever it's called, where they cut your balls off, or turning your penis into an inside-out vagina. All of these sorts of things are kind of the umbrella of gender-affirming care. And my understanding of your position is you think these are good things that lead to positive social mental health outcomes, correct?
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I think that it is the case that social and medical transition are good things, and that it should be the standard of, or at least as far as the evidence is concerned, the current standard care for trans patients.
Right. So I'll give you my take, which I outlined in that tweet. The first of that take is, well, that tweet and the entire body of my billions of tweets, so incredibly lengthy.
Hold that thought 1
tweet.
second, sorry. Sorry, somebody needed something.
No problem at all. So to start, just on the healthcare aspect, we'll go with that. There's no evidence at all that these sort of procedures, these sort of medical procedures especially, but even the social procedures, result in better mental health outcomes for trans identifying people. The studies, such as the one you sent to the tweet and things like that, usually they're funded by WPATH, and even when they're not, they tend to focus on short-term self-report data. Usually they're limited to a period of 1 to 2 years. I believe the study you showed was limited to a period of 2 years. And what that shows is that the people are responding to these therapies in the same way they would respond to a placebo. If someone's distressed about something mentally, or even physically in some cases, and you give them a placebo, meaning you say this will fix you, whether it's a sugar pill or whether it's cutting their dick off, then they will have a temporary, very good outcome with that. That's what the placebo effect is. And there's people that call it the temporary euphoria, because that's a term that the trans activists seem to like. But either way, that's what we're seeing is a temporary, oh shit, this solved all my problems, and then they realize their problems haven't really been solved because they're fixing the symptom, they're not fixing the cause. So that's where I'm at on healthcare, and I guess we can start there. I can monologue about the other
So
things.
I would disagree with your usage of the placebo effect in the case with respect to trans like medical care. With how placebos are administered, it is nearly, if not completely impossible due to ethical concerns to actually do something like add a placebo to to like trans healthcare in the form of like a randomized controlled trials, because you would see the like physiological effects of whatever's happening, and you would know immediately by then whether you would be experiencing something that is, you know, in this case either HRT, or you'd be experiencing like natal puberty in the case of what I'm talking about. That's just not possible. And what placebo pills do, they basically just, they do nothing. They're, most of the cases, they're sugar pills. Or they,
right,
or
so
in some cases,
clarify,
as, or in some cases outlined in like, there's like a few like cases that I've like seen just reading random medical papers, but it could also be in the form of like standard, no, never mind. It's not, it would be standard treatment, but that also isn't the case. It's just like sugar pill or something akin to a sugar pill.
Yeah, so let me clarify, because I just want to make sure my point was getting across correctly, because you're not quite addressing what I'm saying, and I'm not being a dick about it. I'm just saying
No, go for it.
I may have been I may have been unclear. So I'm not saying that they're literally giving people sugar pills or placebo pills in trans care. In fact, one of the issues with studying the efficacy of trans care is that there is no sort of what they call good data, causal data in any of these studies, whether it's for or against.
And what are you basing this off of exactly? Just curious. Like, what's your what analysis have you seen with respect to that?
What am I basing the fact that there are no such things like double-blind studies and things like that in trans healthcare?
I mean, yeah, I've already stated why.
I thought we agreed on this.
Yeah, I've already stated why. Yeah, I'm just asking you where you're getting that from. Like what, like where you've read that specifically.
Yeah, I was just repeating the information you were telling me.
Okay,
and I thought we agreed on that.
Okay, cool.
I'm not sure why we disagree.
Wait, no, we're not disagreeing. I was just asking, like,
there, I believe.
I wasn't saying that I was disagreeing with you. I was just wondering where you had gotten that from. If it was me, then yeah, of course I agree. But
yeah, and no, I'm not saying that I got that information from you. I'm just saying we tend to agree on it. And there are certain things that I'm happy to tell you. Oh, I remember seeing that there. But I've been involved in this area of things and this transgenderism issue for quite a bit now, and so I'm probably not going to be able to recall a specific area where I read something. But afterwards, if you're curious about it, I'm happy to look it up and send it to you.
yeah,
if I recall correctly, the issue with rating the levels of studies and tests and things like that, that was a heated debate in the Yale review reply to the Cass review done in England. And so that's where I recall seeing that in that issue, but there's plenty of people
I actually read up on that today a little bit to prepare for this, but specifically what Yale is talking about is that what the Cass report does is that they allude to the use of, I think it's called like the grade system for like medical evidence, but they don't what they don't do is they don't like formalize what that means with respect to how they're grading trans healthcare papers. And so there's like a little bit of ambiguity with respect to that because of the lack of formalization, with the lack of like specific guidelines. Then there's also a few other things that I can think about. They also don't talk about like some of the like positive outcomes in the Cass report. Let me I have the rebuttal paper thrown up here. Yeah. On my end.
Yeah, the rebuttal paper
There's like a bunch
is the Yale one. That's one that I read. But just in the interest of not getting too far into the weeds, I was answering your question because I'm sure you were curious about it. But I don't think either of us are disagreeing that there is, on that grade system, whatever they're talking about, there is no there is no great evidence, right? There's no the sort of gold standard that we see in scientific studies, things like double-blind testing, those sorts of things, that just doesn't exist. What we're relying on
it's specifically randomized control trials, like that's like the quote unquote gold standard for medical care, and that's just not
right,
possible
those sorts
with
of things
trans
don't
healthcare.
exist.
At least
Right,
not
and
without
so
breaking
getting
a
back
few
to
like
the
ethical concerns, but I don't ever see
right,
that
and
happening.
I'm not disagreeing with you. My point is it doesn't exist. We agree on this, right? like I'm not. I don't want to
I
get into the
agree
weeds
that
here because
there's
we agree on the same thing.
I agree that
I'm
there's
not
no high
making
quality
any sort of
evidence.
implication.
So
I'm making no sort of implication that there should be. I'm just saying there's not. And
so then what would be the
what I'm
standard
getting
of
at,
evidence that you want then? Just curious. That way we can get
so
into the actual like meat and
so
potatoes of this.
let me go back to my earlier point, right? Because we're getting into the weeds on the cast review and the Yale thing, and it's just not really relevant because we're agreeing on those things. My earlier point that I was starting to make before we got into these weeds was when I was talking about placebo, I was not making the claim that they're giving some sort of sugar pill to these people or anything like that. What I was talking about was the placebo effect, meaning when someone thinks that something's helping them, it literally does help them for a little bit. That's the placebo effect. It's when you think that this thing is curing your ailment, and then you feel better for a little bit, and then you don't because it's not actually curing your ailment. And what I'm saying is that in the context of gender affirming care, that is precisely what we're seeing. Is people feel a little better, and then their long-term mental health outcomes do not improve.
Gotcha. So what would be the kind of standard that you think would be the case? You said earlier like long form like studies or longitudinal studies specifically like that.
Yeah. So
How long like roughly speaking are we talking? Like just more than a year, or like we talking like 5 to 10 years? Like
well, certainly not 1 to 2 years, but when, for example, we have the Sweden study, which was the longest, most robust study of the long-term health benefits, the long-term health effects of trans healthcare and gender-affirming care, which is quite a bit longer period. And what it showed was when you look at how these treatments actually affect people for their lives, they are not having decreased levels of suicide. They're actually, in some cases, I believe the subgroup that they said had increased levels of suicide is people with existing mental health issues that then go through gender affirming care. Then their suicide levels are actually increased, and it doesn't show any sort of causal benefit to mental health outcomes.
Are you saying that they increase with respect to the non-transitioning population, or with respect to like a control population of mostly cis people?
With respect to the trans-identifying population that did not go through surgery.
That did not go through surgery?
Correct.
It's been a while since I looked into it, but I don't know if that's the case. But even then, I could go away from that and talk about like meta-analyses that go that look into several like 10+ year studies on like trans healthcare, and I can point to.
Are you aware of a 10+ year study that shows that over that time period, mental health outcomes have increased? Or have gotten better,
that they've gotten better, yes, and it's meta-analysis specifically.
Well, I'd be really happy to see that because I've never had anyone present that information to me in the years that I've talked to possibly 200 people about this.
I'm going to send it to you from a definitely legally acquired document of this.
Great.
There's a couple of others that I also have too. I don't know if it's necessarily 10 years though, because I skimmed through it a little bit. There's at least like one with more than 2+ years.
And this is actual outcomes, not self-report data, right?
Well, self-report data is still like actual like outcomes. That's kind of the most like that's the most common way we can kind of measure that. It does contain those, yes.
Yeah, so here's the issue: is that self-report data is incredibly unreliable, and you have these issues where, for example, people ebb and flow with their feelings. If I'm having a good day and someone asks me, "Are you suicidal?" and I'm going to say no. if I'm having a bad day the next day and jump off a bridge, then what good is that no, right? And so there's really not a huge amount of value from self-report data when you're talking about things like suicide that are objectively measurable.
You could, I mean, you could talk about like their ability to like obtain like meaningful relationships either through friendship, employment, relationship. They can also talk about like relationship satisfaction as well. Like again, a lot of these are still self-reported, mind you, but like that shows like their ability to kind of function in a normal society, and when compared to those who don't transition, their lives have gotten better and they're more able to live quote unquote normal lives. Like, and also to the point of like your issue with specifically self-reporting. One way that that scientists usually kind of combat that or really standardize they really standardize their questions specifically, so that way they can kind of get trends from other studies as well and kind of see how well it correlates with one another to see if it's generally consistent. And as far as I know, some of these have like they still have small to like medium effect sizes as well, with respect to like whether gender transition is helping them, but it's still it still helps. And even then, I would also have another point, but I'd rather not ramble on.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to ramble on. I'll interrupt you if I have something to butt in with. But
It's more so with it's more so with the quandary of like whether we should be using low to medium quality evidence to help dictate like medical practice, and that we can get into a little bit later if you have a contention with only using low and some medium quality evidence. But
oh, absolutely, I do.
oh,
But
perfect. Okay, we can talk about it later then.
Here's my thing. Here's my thing. I'm just looking at this big picture view, and you'll have to forgive me. I really don't like the minutia sort of debates because we only have a limited amount of time here, and we could do this via text later and go back and forth on
Yeah, of course,
on the specific survey questions. But big picture, here's what I'm asking you: if the more if studies like the Sweden study that show long term these people are not killing themselves less, right? Something objectively verifiable we can look at is, okay, here are the rates that trans identifying people kill themselves, and here are the rates they kill themselves after care. It's not going down, right? If we have that information, and I haven't seen any study anywhere that refutes that information, I think everyone understands that information. If what you're telling me is true, if this self-report information is reliable, if these people are telling the truth, if this population, which you tell, hey, anyone who disagrees with you getting your tits cut off is a bigot and it solves all your problems, happens to affirm that on a survey and said it makes them better, if that's actually true, if it actually made their lives better, why are they still killing themselves at a rate higher than any other subgroup?
Going back specifically to the Swedish study, I'm pretty sure you did miscite it. I'm pretty sure, like, going off of this, just again skimming it, it's Dejane or Dhejne et al. Like 2011. That specific one, is that what you're referring to?
No, it's a 2019 study that was that had the correction issued in 2020. It's not 2011 study.
Okay, I'll have to look into that later. I usually hear the 2011 study more often, but either way, like that specific study, I would say that would just be like a one negative against like a, in this case, I think the one that the meta-analysis that I sent you has like at least a dozen studies that kind of see kind of go the opposite way when it comes to like long-term outcomes of more than 10 years. So I would like, even if I were to say that the 2019 study would affirm your view in that they still experience like higher, excuse me, they still experience like higher rates of suicidality and whatnot, that it seems to be somewhat out of line with the meta-analysis. And if you can pull up at some point, if you can find that 2019 study, I would love to look into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send it to you after we're done here. So let's assume for argument's sake that I'm correct. And if I'm incorrect, I will get back on here and space with you any day of the week. I'm happy to be proven wrong, and I'm happy to learn more about this. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe we need to trans all the kids, right? I'm not married to the idea that we don't. If it's better for them, it's better for them. But let's say that I'm right, and let's say that the best data we have of actual data of people killing themselves, more or less, post transition, shows that it's probably not making a big difference. And if it does show a difference, it tends to go up a little bit. If that's true, and all the self-report surveys that you're talking about that are analyzed in this meta-analysis, all those surveys say, well, actually, the self-reporting they're giving to us shows that they're doing better. Would that not indicate to you that there's a flaw in the self-reporting rather than a flaw in the actual analysis of are they killing themselves or not?
Well, that's why we have things like effect sizes and methods to kind of show the general strength of data when it comes to kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Categorize, kind of organize all the data together and presenting it. That's why
Yeah,
I
and I'm
talk
not talking about
like that.
and I'm not talking
That's why
about on
I'm
a
talking about
vague
those
sense,
things
and I'm not
because
talking
that's
about
kind
in
of a
like a
more
retort. Sorry, I didn't. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
yeah, that what I'm talking about specifically is kind of more of it is a standard way of looking at relative strengths of evidence in a certain field.
And I
And it
understand
yeah.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm sure all the psychologists and gender doctors agree with you. My point is not talking vaguely though. I'm talking very specifically. I'm saying if people who are part of this subgroup that kill themselves higher than any other subgroup, higher than Holocaust survivors, still kills themselves at a rate that is substantially higher than the normal population, and that rate does not go down after medical interventions, would it not tell you that maybe the data showing those medical interventions are helping them may not be true?
It could be the case, but the problem is it would just be one study against several others. In this case, and this is just one
So,
meta-analysis that I was talking about earlier. Um, and like I said earlier, that would have to you would have to take into effect the relative strength of the results in that study and pair it against other studies. And what usually happens is that all of the evidence at some board gets reviewed, and there is some type of plan that is in place to kind of go forth with said medical care. And
and again, the premise of my question was very specific, though. I, I'm saying, let's hypothetically, I know you're not agreeing with this. Let's hypothetically say I'm right, and the actual rate of people killing themselves does not go down after transition. That we have no data showing that it does. That all of
okay,
the
I
data
see what
that
you're
we
talking
have
about.
shows that either it stays roughly the same or it goes a little bit up. If that's true, then wouldn't it say the self-report data probably needs a little bit of work if they're still killing themselves at a rate higher than any other subgroup?
Okay, so I don't see how my previous answer didn't address that. If you're saying that what you're kind of doing here is you're kind of equivocating self-report data with not being evidence here. You're kind of saying that those are one and the same. I disagree with that entirely. I disagree with that premise.
Well, that's not what my premise is actually, and that's not really what you answered. You
So
didn't answer the
then,
question. Your answer.
so then so then the problem is it just goes back to what I said earlier. You weigh in the negative evidence here with the positive evidence in this case, and the experts here would have to go into a discussion about this, which is what the purpose of like the cast review was, to some degree, and the
And if the
rebuttals.
experts see people killing themselves at the same incredibly elevated rate and say, yeah, this is helping them when it doesn't change the level of them killing themselves, then wouldn't the experts be getting that wrong?
If if at some point there's sufficient evidence to believe that the like trans affirming like medical practices and medical care does in fact lead to worse health outcomes, of course they would have to start changing course. Uh, the
Yeah,
problem is
absolutely.
I would
That's what's
just
happening in
reject
the
that
UK, and that's
premise.
what the That's what the HHS just released in the U.S. recently.
Yeah, so
That's
that's
what
the thing
across
I
the
reject
Europe
right
and
there.
across the world people are understanding. You just said that's what happened is the experts figure out, hey, we got this wrong.
No, I disagree with that. If you're talking again, going back to the CAS report, we'd have to go into the minutia of that. There are issues with lack of standardization of evidence that were not in congruence with grade, and then on top of that, this is what I was talking about earlier. That low and medium evidence in this case, or like quality of evidence, is used to talk about or used to inform healthcare practitioners on everything from like anesthesia to like certain aspects of surgeries, like knee surgery, for example, also has a lot of that issue. Like there are all sorts of fields within medicine that rely on low to medium quality evidence and cannot easily obtain high quality evidence, not just because it's like financially infeasible, but for other reasons, like I mentioned earlier, being ethical concerns. But yeah, it's also just not in accordance with how scientists or medical doctors would direct their patient care elsewhere in other fields. It's not congruent with trans care.
Yeah, and so to your credit, I understand what you're saying. You're saying there are areas of medicine where we trust people self-report all the time. I totally get that.
Not just self-report. I'm talking about more broadly, low to medium
right.
quality evidence with respect to how grade categorizes things.
No, I understand completely. Yeah. And look, I'll just tell you, I agree with you. For example, I'm an attorney and I've done some personal injury cases, and we have experts get up there that say, well, as a doctor, I have to trust my patient's pain scale because their self-reported pain level is the only evidence I have as to their pain level. I can't go inside their brain, right? So I get that. I understand what you're saying, but I'm asking you to get out of the vagueness, out of the broadness of what you're saying. You're talking about
what I'm
low,
saying isn't
medium
vague at all.
evidence.
When I'm saying like grade scales of evidence, I'm talking about specific categories with like relatively well defined like boundaries here, and
right.
how
And I
that
want to talk
applies
about
to
the
broader
specific
medicine.
ones, and I want to talk about the specific ones in the trans field, and I'm not talking about broader medicine and broader
okay.
how we treat people.
So
Using my example,
I think what you're mistaken with here is that what I'm saying is that the issues outlined in the CAS report are not issues that would be equally like substantiated elsewhere. It would be equally like it would have equal weight in healthcare elsewhere. Like it is very unique in that sense, where they harp unnecessarily on the lack of high quality evidence, which that would preclude trans healthcare as it is today from being effective. Like that's just not something that is true elsewhere, or how anyone is informed elsewhere.
I understand what you're saying, and I just told you I get it. But let me tell you what I mean by.
Well, I mean you don't, because you keep going back to this this idea that I'm like being wishy washy, and I'm like I'm not. I'm saying that there's an incongruence between what the critics of what trans healthcare are saying, especially when it comes to like the medical field, and they wouldn't be applying it elsewhere.
Yeah, and I'm going back to it. Not that you're being wishy-washy. That's not the word I would use, but I don't think you're actually directly answering the question that I'm asking. So I'm gonna give you another example. You mentioned knee surgeries. They use these sorts of low medium data. If I go to a doctor and I get a knee surgery and I tell her before, hey, my knee hurts, 8 out of 10 pain. After the knee surgery, I'm like, doc, it worked great. I can walk. My pain's a 2 out of 10. Great surgery. Did well. And then doctors see this self-report and this what you would consider a low or medium quality evidence, and you see just patients relaying their outcomes, and they say, yeah, the knee surgery worked, let's keep doing them. And then 3 years after each knee surgery, all these patients kill themselves. Wouldn't we then say, maybe we need to look at these self-reports and this low and medium quality data that we evidence this on, not because it is low and medium quality data. And that's where I think the disconnect happening between me and you. I'm not saying because it is categorized in this one way on the the data scale, whatever they call it, that because of that, we have to disregard it. I'm saying we have objective evidence and we have subjective self-report. And I'm using now legal words. Like I said, I'm an attorney. This is how we look at things. You have subjective and objective. Objectively, these people are killing themselves. Higher than Holocaust survivors, higher than any other subgroup. Subjectively, they say, yeah,
to
feel great.
dispute, like, if you could bring up the study, that would be really great, because I haven't seen a study where it's like, oh, like the actual like rate of suicide is actually increasing after surgery, and like what that specific like paper concludes with and recommends. Like I haven't.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm happy to send that to you after we're done here.
I mean, I would like it like
just
sometime soon, because you're talking about this right now, and I'm kind of disputing that claim a little bit. Just
yeah, and just
like,
to clarify,
I'm like
that's
looking
not
for
exactly
the study
my
right
claim.
now as we're speaking. So
yeah, and just to
if
clarify,
you could
that's
give me
not
like a
exact.
relative idea of the title, that would be cool too, just so I can look at it.
I have no idea. I'm in my car right now, and I'm gonna have to look that up later.
And you said
But
it was. Did you also say it was corrected in like 2020 or something, or?
No, I said they issued a slight correction in 2020.
Okay,
like I said, I'd be happy to provide that with you later.
and like Pachankis, I think. If it's that, then
honestly
I've got the
do not know off the top of my head. And listen, if you find a study that says everything I'm saying is wrong, or if you think that what I cited is wrong, please tell me. I promise you that I will hop on the space and take my lashes. Okay, I'm not trying to trick you by not having the study on hand, and I'm not trying to.
I'm not saying that you are. I'm just like, I'm telling you, like right now, that like there's a large amount of evidence that would disagree with the conclusion of that paper. And when I look at meta-analyses versus a single study, I see like overwhelming evidence in one direction, a small amount of evidence in the other, assuming that your interpretation of it's correct. I'm not assuming malicious intent or anything, but what I see here is that there is so much evidence in favor of one direction and very little in the other, and it doesn't sway me all that much. I'm just saying that right there. Like in terms of like Bayesian analyses, it's like meh.
And that's why I keep going back to the same point. And I'm happy to move past it if we're not going to get an answer. And I'm not trying to accuse you of being wishy-washy, but you haven't really answered my question. And my question is this. I'll repeat it again. Assume, for argument's sake, that what I'm saying is correct. That, and I'm not saying that there's some study out there that says that once you get the trans surgeries, that your if you don't get the trans surgeries, your mental health goes up, right? People are trans identifying. You can call them trans. I don't, but they're in that group. That group has roughly a 40 to 50% suicide rate, right? That's the highest of any subgroup, higher than Holocaust survivors, right? What the data shows, and you just assume I'm right on this. If I'm not, call me out, call me a liar. I will say I'm a big dumb idiot. We can get back on the space. What the data shows is that take that subgroup of trans identifying people, do whatever you want to them. Give them puberty blockers, cut them up, put them on hormones, do all those gender affirming things. When you do that, they do not kill themselves less. And some studies, and I'm not saying this is the trend, but there have been some studies that say for certain subgroups it goes up a little bit. I'm not even claiming that. I'm not claiming that it goes up. My point is it doesn't do anything. There's no data saying that improves long-term suicidality. And then if we assume that's correct, assume I am not lying to you on that. My question is, getting into the brass tacks of this issue, I'm not talking about broadly disregarding all low and medium quality data. I'm not talking about not disregarding all patient self-surveys. What I'm saying is on this specific issue, if we have this specific low and medium quality data, which is self-reported surveys from trans-identified people that show that they believe they're having positive mental health outcomes, and they are still killing themselves, higher than any subgroup, higher than Holocaust survivors, and that rate is not changing, shouldn't we reevaluate that? Shouldn't we say maybe the self-report data, not because it is low or medium quality, but because it conflicts with the hard objective reality of are they killing themselves or not? Because of that, shouldn't we evaluate that higher, and shouldn't we look at those self-reports and say maybe we need to reevaluate how we're obtaining this data and how we're basing this care on?
So
That's my question.
I'm pretty sure I already answered this, but it all depends on the effect size of the study. Like whether there's a like strong like um whether that would correlate strongly with like the general like population, or really in this case the population of trans people in general, whether that correlates all effects on the effect size. And
Right. And
at that
like I
point, like
said,
again,
assume that I'm right.
yeah, that is assuming you're right. That would just be
Yeah,
some like
assume
piece.
that I'm
I already
right, and
told you
all
earlier.
the
This is
data
some
shows that.
piece of it. You know, I don't think you understand this, but there's like that is just some piece of evidence that would go against like that would not just go against, but like that would be added to the broader knowledge of trans healthcare, and that would just be something that would be taken as a negative and would have to be taken into consideration with respect to the aggregate care. And assuming that like whatever's happening is just like doesn't work, that means that there just needs to be a reevaluation of care. Like that's
So
all I'm
you're
saying.
saying if we have objective data that people are killing themselves at an incredibly
I need
increased
you to
rate.
quit harping on this like objective and subjective data
I,
shit.
I,
Like what I'm talking about is like are specific measures by which we can talk about the effects of certain procedures, and whether it be short-term or long-term effects as it works in the broader field, and how we inform ourselves about how to provide, or we, the informal we, provide care for trans people. Like that's all I'm saying. Like that is quite literally it. And you'll
right,
hear
and
you'll hear people that are actually experts on this say that like something relatively similar to that, that it would be something to consider in the broader scope of things.
and
None of it's
I
definitive,
understand what
basically,
you're
is what I'm
saying. I
saying.
think you've made it clear for me. My amended question is:
I don't think I've made it clear
if
for
you
him.
have on one hand
I don't think you did. I don't think it's clear.
subjective self-report data, and on
Holy
one hand
fuck! I'm gonna.
objective
Oh my
suicide
god,
care,
he's
and they
actually.
conflict,
He's retarded.
how can you possibly say they're just both
He's
part
re-
of the broader data scheme, and we need to take both into account, and the suicide rate not changing is just part of what we need to look at? Like, shouldn't I guess
so
I understand what you're saying, but why is that just something that you consider as part of the equation? Why is that not a huge red flag? Like, why the fuck are we cutting up kids if they're not killing themselves less?
it can be depending on the effect size. That's all I'm saying. It can be. It can absolutely be. You just need to see how strong that evidence actually is. Like
So so
I don't know
if
if you
what I
understand like what I'm talking about, but when it comes to like statistics, when we're talking about effect size, that's just like how well the smaller like sample size would translate to a broader population of whatever you're studying.
no,
And
I
so if
understand, and that's
something's like
why.
a if something's like 0.2, that's like a small like that's a small effect size. If something's like 1 or 1.1, that's a really large effect size. And like again, that's why I'm
I
saying it has to be weighed into the broader or medical knowledge with respect to trans healthcare.
Right, and I understand what you're saying, and that's why I premised the question with assume that I'm correct.
Yeah,
That
I did.
every
That is assuming
single
you're
piece of
correct. Like, make no mistake.
okay,
That is
but
assuming you're correct. That is a drop of water into like the ocean that is whatever the fuck trans healthcare science is right now.
part of the assume I'm correct portion is assume I'm correct that every single piece
I
of
can't.
objective
Oh my god,
data
I'm
we
actually
have on
getting
rates of
dumber listening to
suicide
this.
before and after transition
I'm getting
show
dumber.
effectively no change. Like this isn't one study, it isn't just one small sample size sort of thing. It's every single one. Like we don't have the opposite study. We don't have good data.
I disagree. I've already shown you like a couple of meta-analyses that kind of sway.
You showed me self-report data. I said data on suicide.
No, I know meta-analyses. It's several fucking studies, like dozens of
But
studies.
You told me that meta-analyses rely on self-report data.
They can in fact have some self-report data. It also talks about one of the studies that I try to look up on your end also talks about hospitalization rates. These also go into like certain aspects of quality of life, hospitalization rates due to mental health or like suicidality, and it seems to be the case that it goes down, like based on the data.
So it sounds like you're saying I disagree because I think you're wrong. But the premise of the question was assume that I'm right.
No,
I just
that's
want to
not
see if
what
we can
I.
have agreement on this.
Okay, that's not what I.
I think
I
it's
already told
I
you.
I think
I already told you that assuming that your
said this. I just want to
interpretation of
make
the
sure
study is correct.
we have an agreement on this.
Oh my god. Okay, go for it.
I think that we do because you seem to be leaning towards saying if the effect size is great enough, then yeah, of course it would be a red flag and we should stop. I just want to make
Yes,
sure we have
yes,
that agreement.
that is it. Yes, that is the
Okay.
first time you've gotten it correct. I'm actually really
Well, no,
glad that
I've
we've
said it
gotten there.
I've said it in many different ways, but okay,
No, not
good.
really.
We have that.
No. What you're doing is you're kind of saying that like we should always be like putting like this quote unquote objective data like ahead of like subjective data in this case. And I keep correcting you saying, no, it doesn't always, it's not always the case. It all depends on like how strong of an effect that study would have on the general body of knowledge in that case. Like that's all I'm saying. And you got it right this time, but with the interplay between objective and subjective like data, like you were kind of like getting, in my opinion, like lost a little bit.
I don't think I was lost. I think we're talking past each other a little bit, but you quoted me correctly. I do think objective data, something that we can measure, is something that's more reliable and should be taken a lot more seriously than subjective data like self-report. That doesn't mean that low and medium quality data don't matter. That doesn't mean that self-report studies cannot be important in helping us form healthcare decisions. But when you have something like, are they killing themselves less? Yeah, that's a hell of a lot more important. Absolutely. So you're correct. That is my point.
So yeah, I would just say that sure, if that study says so, I have several other studies that say otherwise, and that have like impacts on quality of life that suggest otherwise, that mental health outcomes improve. And this is just several meta-analyses I can like throw at you that kind of show my point of view here, or that affirm my point of view.
I get you. I'm not going to beat the dead horse for another 20 minutes. I think we're at some level of agreement, at least in principle, in that. And I guess here's my overall perspective in trans healthcare, if you can even call it that. What you have from a lot of these things, like I started to say, or at the very beginning of our debate, is effectively trans care operating as a placebo. What you have is temporary euphoria. What you have is temporary elation. What you have is telling these troubled teens, in most cases, especially in the case of quote unquote trans men, young women and young girls. A lot of these times, these girls are sexually abused. These girls are having body image issues. These girls are anorexic. They're autistic. All these sorts of comorbidities, right, with the trans identification. And you tell these poor girls that are suffering, and you say, listen, this is going to fix your shit. Like, really, you're a boy. And they go and they start taking testosterone. Testosterone gives them a little bit of a confidence boost. You're a man like I am. We understand how it works when you get your blood pumping.
Yeah,
the
sure.
Testosterone gives them a little bit. The testosterone starts pumping through them. Then they get their tits cut off, and they look at the scale, and holy shit, I lost 10 pounds. And I'm laughing because it's so horrific, and I'm retarded, but I'm not trying to make light of it. They do these things to these teenagers, and these very troubled young women and young girls.
That's the first
thing they are told, right? Hey, this is gonna fix you, and yeah, they report that it fixes them. That's completely understandable. That's what happens, and that's what the placebo effect means. I'm not saying they're taking sugar pills. I'm saying that's what's happening. Is these young women are and I'm not just talking about women, but these people who go down this path are saying, yes, I'm fixed for a little bit. And that's why, that's one of the factors why when you look at these self-report things, that has to be taken into account. And the sort of mindset that is understood by a lot of these gender doctors, and especially with WPATH, which is the funder of a lot of these studies, is they come from the premise of people are trans, and this healthcare alleviates their gender dysphoria. And that's not an unbiased premise. That's their mindset. And when you come from that mindset of, oh, trans people do exist, then yeah, of course you have to fix them. right? Because they were born in the wrong bodies. But if you take away that mindset, which is not true, there's no such thing as trans people, then you're filling these people's heads with ideas that they're going to have some magical cure to their mental health issues. You're giving them placebo effects, and then they keep killing themselves at a rate of like 41%, which is an obscene number.
So
and I understand that they don't kill themselves at that rate. And sorry, I understand. I'm monologuing. Let me get
you're monologuing
one
a
more
little
point
bit,
down.
but yeah, there's like a couple of things I want to address.
I know.
But yeah, finish
Yeah.
up real quick.
And I'll let you. Let me get one more point out because I want to tie this back to my post that I gave to you. And I apologize for going on and on. But
oh no, you're fine. You're fine. Just I'm gonna.
So when you have this, no, I appreciate it. So when you have this subgroup of people that kill themselves at an exorbitant rate, and when you're giving them this care, what studies have shown, this was actually a pro-trans study. It was the Trans Youth Project study that showed this, that when you affirm transgenderism in young people,
I know what he's about to say.
Out of it. And that's contrary to what we've known for decades. I don't think you're contesting this. I don't think anyone's contesting this.
He's about
when you have kids that present with gender dysphoria, gender confusion, gender anxiety, whatever
he did this in the Alec Gunter debate too. This is the exact thing that he's mentioning right now.
If you let them grow out of it, they grow out of it like 95% of the time. Like they don't turn out trans. They're just a little confused because they're little kids. And 5% of them do, and then we have to deal with them, right? And that's why the rate of trans people has been super low for history. But what that trans youth study shows is if you affirm them, if you take that little boy and say, you know what, Billy, you actually are trans. Let's put you in a dress. We're going to call you Sue. We're going to tell all your teachers to call you her. We're going to start you on puberty blockers. We're going to give you estrogen. When you turn 18, we're going to give you fake tits. When you turn 17, like they do in Jazz Jennings, because they do that to minors, we're going to cut your dick off and turn it into a fake vagina. Then little Billy does not desist. And what that Trans Youth Project study shows is when they are affirmed, the desistance rate goes down to like 2-3%, maybe 4%, something around 5 or less. I forgot the exact figure. And they were saying that study, like, isn't it great that when you affirm trans people, they really know who they are? And my point is this.
I can kind of interrupt you here because actually I looked at your Alex Gunter debate. This is the exact thing that you were mentioning earlier. I know what you're talking about at this point, but to that effect, what social transition effectively means with respect to like the healthcare field is you're letting the child figure out the gender identity for themselves. They have been equipped with the language necessary to kind of discern what like man and woman kind of means in society, at least at a basic level at first, and then develops over time. And they then wish to kind of fit that part of their identity into like one or more of those categories. And over time,
absolutely. No disagreement there, by the way.
Okay, perfect. So like that,
and
that's not an issue. That's not child abuse. What's your definition of definition of child abuse then? Like, what are you basing that off of?
My definition of child abuse as it pertains to this is teaching a kid something untrue, objectively untrue, like telling a little boy that he's a girl or might be a girl, and then telling him something
hold on.
Untrue to the point where they're engrossed in delusion and kill themselves at a rate of 41%. That's my definition of child abuse to this.
So yeah, that's one loaded, but two, the bigger issue is that most people will differentiate between gender and sex definitionally. So, and also in that case, that also means that there's no like false belief being held by the kid. Like the kid would eventually know that they are like male or female, but they can still be a man or woman because gender and sex are two different but related concepts.
Yeah, they're really not. And they really haven't been until the 1960s, where they decided they were different concepts.
I mean, even if I just like completely grant this, it's also just like that part of the debate is a matter of linguistics. And either way, that's what's happening today in modern day. And that's how most people operate day to day. And so this is just not something that's necessarily like really like hotly contested. Like most people don't look for a dick or a vagina when they see a new person. They tend to go off of more like secondary characteristics, whether they like dress a certain way, because it's all contextual within society. But that, again, rambling a little bit here, but no, there's no false belief being held by the view of like the trans kid or the trans people in this case.
Then if that's true, if gender is just, hey, you should start acting like a girl now because that's who you are inside, or
gender in this case is just it's a social category that is based upon a psychosocial schema that a person develops over time, and usually that corresponds with a lot of people's like assigned sex at birth. Like that is what people like associate per se with those people, and that's why I say that gender is related to sex, but it isn't one and the same.
Yeah, and I'm running very closely into my time.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I guess I'll just ask you one more question. We can pick this up later.
yeah, of
If
course.
what, or I guess two related questions. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. When you say gender, you're referring to things that are behavioral and mental, correct?
They can be behavioral and mental. It would refer to like a neurobiological thing specifically. Like it is that type of phenomenon, I'd say, in the most like concrete terms, I'd say. I don't know. I keep saying I'd say, but you know.
So things in the brain, right?
Yes, yes, brain activity. Sure,
Yeah,
we'll go with that.
yeah, I'm not trying to trick you. Like
No, 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 no,
trans women don't
no.
have
I'm
female
saying that
arms,
just so
right?
like we like I agree.
Right. So if this is whatever, however we want to call it, neurological, mental, brain, behavioral, all those things, they're in the brain, they're in your mind. If that's all gender is, why do we cut their dicks off?
Specifically as like the DSM-5 refers to like gender dysphoria as like a type of like a disorder per se. It has to do with a lot of the distress related to one's own body. Uh, in this case, like some of their sexual characteristics with respect to their gender identity. And this isn't the case with all trans people. A good amount of trans people are able to kind of decouple their genitals from their gender, but for some people it is the case where they're like, no, like I as a trans woman, I want a vagina because that would make me more aligned with like what a woman is in my head.
Yeah, and so
But
I
it's
guess
just not
my point
necessarily the
is
case.
just to your earlier statement that if I tell a little boy, hey, you're actually a little girl, I'm not telling him anything false. If that was
It
true,
would be
if that guy,
I disagree. It would be
if
false to
that
the
a
kid
little,
if the kid says no, I'm a boy. Like that would be stating something false to the boy at that point. Granted
okay,
that they
if
know
the
like
kid
what
says I'm a
boy and girl
boy, and then
means.
sorry, if the kid says I'm a girl, and then I say yes, you're right, you're a girl on the inside, that's your gender, you're not a boy even though you're male. If I tell that kid and you say he's not, I'm not telling him anything delusional, I'm not putting any ideas in his head that are false. Why do all of them try to make themselves look like girls? Let's just be so for real right now.
Be
Gender and sex are the same thing.
that's
Everyone knows this.
no,
That's why
I,
whenever
I
y'all
disagree.
say for example, trans people are just trying to go with the bathroom that identifies with their gender and not their sex. Okay, then why don't males go to the male bathroom? Because we've discriminated on the basis of sex forever. The entire purpose of the transgenderism movement and getting gender and sex mixed up is so you can do this switch over and over. You can say, well, actually, they're completely separate things, but boys get their dicks cut off and turn into
No,
fake vaginas.
no
Well,
one ever
actually, they're
no
complete
one
separate
says
things,
that gender
but
and
we need to
sex are
let
completely
trans
separate
women
things. This
play in
isn't
women's sports when women is a biological category. Like it's
no serious person says that gender and sex are like completely and entirely detangled. That's nothing. That's not true at all. With respect to like the trans sports debate, there's definitely a good amount of like debate with respect to that. I don't hold a strong view either way. With respect to that, there's still a lot in the air with where we draw the lines at like transitioned athletes. Um, and again, like I said, don't hold a strong view on this. I lean towards allowing trans athletes in, but I'm like very slightly. It's like I've kind of like gone back. I've gone back on that a little bit in the past, just because there are definitely some concerns, and of course with sports you have to kind of balance a lot of different factors in there. And we can get into that type of debate later. We're also running over your time, but what
yeah,
else?
I'm just
Yeah,
sitting outside my house right now. So I
yeah,
appreciate you being respectful of my time, and Mr. Bones, thank you for coming here and what is almost certainly a more hostile audience than is friendly to you.
oh
And I appreciate that, and I'd be happy.
I
Oh,
have
I
more
forgot you're
belligerent
Twitch streaming, so
audiences, so yeah.
you have plenty. Yeah. So
I've gone
I
into
appreciate
Discords
that.
where I get called like a screaming retard. Like this is nothing.
Hell yeah. Real quick, Mary Kate asked me if she could come up here and speak to you. If you want to dip, feel free. I'm not trying to ambush you, but she wanted to talk to you. If you
Yeah,
want to
sure.
talk to her,
Absolutely.
Hi, I just wanted to hear you call me a despicable pig again.
Oh, sure. You want me to read the whole tweet?
Do you want to? Would that make you feel good about yourself?
It would be very fun.
Okay, cool. And then when you're done, you can go look in the comments at all the studies that myself and other people have left from 2023, not 2011, showing things like suicidality does increase after gender affirming surgeries. And maybe you can sit down with yourself and like think critically about the fact that that boy in Portland lived in fucking Portland. Everyone affirmed him. His mom gave him his shots. The fucking police report for his missing poster, they cited him as female. So how it's my fault that he was going to step off a bridge? I would love to hear you defend that argument.
Oh, sure. So yeah, I'm gonna first off read the tweet again since you were.
Go ahead.
So you seem pretty affected by it. I love the energy, by the way. Keep it up. Despicable pigs like Mary Kate are the reason why we see such a high suicide rate for trans people. She feels the anti-trans hatred that plagues the lives of every trans person. This phony sense of mourning is only a show. Did I finish? Hello?
Excuse me. This is a debate.
Ma'am, did I finish? I told you I was going to read the whole tweet, so like sit down.
All right.
So ahead. This phony sense of mourning is only shown to further perpetuate her hatred. It's pathetic. So yeah, do you want to talk now?
I want you to go point by point and give your arguments.
So yeah, would you like me to argue that you're a pig or like that?
Sure, that's your first point. Argue why I am a pig.
So do you agree that it is the case that on aggregate that trans affirming like set parents, friends reduce suicidality in trans kids?
No.
Okay, perfect. So we can go into the evidence for that. Let me go find it real quick.
The evidence against it is proven by the fact that they do have these high rates of suicide. And again,
so yes, I understand that they still have higher rates of suicide than the general population. Excuse me.
No, I'm not going to listen to you to condescend to me. You're going to get the same energy.
You're definitely going to continue to get condescended to.
You're going to get the same energy that you gave to me.
Absolutely. I love it. Give me that energy. I love it. Go for it.
Calm down.
Go for it. Give me the energy.
Are you ready to behave?
Behave? No. I want you to give me the energy. Go for it.
I would like you to explain to me how it's my fault that a boy who was affirmed at every step of the way by other people, by his whole city, by the police, by his parents, how are you going to
you take it to mean that like you directly caused her suicide? No, that's not the claim. The fuck?
Okay, so I never knew him.
You're part of the reason. So if you want me to clarify for you, you're a part of the reason why you're. It's so funny. It's so funny that you're like acting like a victim right here when I have to correct you on your misinterpretation of my words because you're perpetually triggered. So anyways, ma'am.
Hey, fat ass, listen up here.
Okay, so ma'am.
These kids who are affirmed,
people who espouse the anti-trans worldview contribute to higher rates of suicide.
Who was affirmed at every step? Why didn't that help him, Bones?
So that's just what I'm talking about is aggregate statistics, or just talking about one instance. If you, like you said studies, like you should know this, that just looking at one singular. You looking at one singular case.
I would love it if someone would send that to me. I just don't really know. So
a specific study that he was Alexander was vaguely talking about.
It in the comments, so you can go and read it
cool.
yourself.
So of course, I can go read it myself. That's fine. Cool.
You want to hear a quote from it? I'm happy to read it.
I want to. No, I want to go back to
the. Wanted to hear
no, I want to go back to. No, ma'am. Hey, ma'am. Ma'am, hey, ma'am.
Surgery.
So when you want to get back to the conversation that we were having 30 seconds ago, ma'am, hello, is this thing on? Hello, hey.
Then those who did not.
So anyways, when are you gonna get back to the conversation? When are you going to
For
get back
the gender-affirmed patients
when are you going
with
to get back to
similar
the
results.
conversation that we were
Patients who
talking
have
about?
undergone gender-affirming
When
surgery
are we
associated with a
going to get back
significantly
to the
elevated
conversation
risk
we were
of
talking about
suicide,
30
highlight.
seconds ago? Ma'am, if you're going to keep like
You're not
ringing up,
interested
if you're
in
going
debate.
to
You're just
if you're going to
interested in
keep going
shitting
off
on
on like
women,
20,
shitting
so if
on
you're going to go off on
children,
20
and
different
I'm
tangents,
so glad
that's
that
fine.
did
You can
this
do
in
that on your
public.
own space,
Listen to
but
this
we're
man.
trying to have a
Listen
conversation
to
here,
this
and I'm
man
trying to talk
refusing
about
to
how
let me
your
speak.
rhetoric
No, you're
here
not trying
is
to talk.
absolutely harmful to the broader
My
the
rhetoric
broader discourse
repeating
around
their
trans
words,
people, but two, your
my
type of
rhetoric where I
rhetoric is
repeat
why
their own
people
words.
are very afraid of being openly trans. Is why people are very
Oh, they're
afraid
so
of opening up to
afraid.
their yes,
Oh my
yes.
gosh. That's why they
This
send
is true.
death threats and they show up to protests where
Rakasan, I
women are
can't fucking mute.
speaking
I'm
and,
not in the position
threaten
to
the
do
women
that. I
there
can't
because
mute her.
they're afraid of what women are saying.
No, so not just women, but the people who espouse the anti-trans worldview. You're one of those people. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm against women losing their rights to single-sex.
What rights do women lose? What rights do women lose?
How about the right to single-sex prisons? How about the right to their own
So
sports? How about the right
so if you're
to
talking about
privacy
trans prisoners
and
who like previously
dignity?
committed sexual assault, they already go to like a special wing of the prison. They don't go anywhere else.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
No,
They
wait, yes, they do. They absolutely do. If you commit if you commit a sex crime that involves sexual assault and is violent in any way, yes, you get put in a separate wing.
Yeah,
that is true of the general. That is true of like general prison population. That is true of like trans population.
Thank you for your misogyny. Thank you for proving to everyone that you don't
I will
know
only
what
get
you're
more misogynistic
about.
as the debate goes on. Trust me.
More trans dick.
Hey, look, man. Look, man. You gotta chill out a little bit here. You've been rattling off on like 20 different tangents here, and I'm only gonna get more misogynistic as the debate goes on right here. Just as I will only get more misandric as men over here try to overspeak me.
Just real quick, sorry. I have been sitting outside my house because I forgot I can't leave the space until everyone's done. Thank y'all for coming. I appreciate everyone who showed up and participating. And I just on a final note, I want to say anyone who accused me of white knighting for Mary Kate and coming to her defense just witnessed the least damsel I've ever seen in my entire life. So y'all have a wonderful night.
I got muted. All right, fucking hell. Holy. Wait, what is this? Oh, look at that. Okay, so this random person put Statista. Okay. Does he have it? Holy shit, yep, she put it down. Here's the article. Okay, here we go. This is 2023. Interesting. Interesting how she didn't post the one that he was talking about. So, Bro, I'm gonna read the Twitter comments right here. Dog, a black woman would talk to me. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna would talk to me as if I was 5. Bro. Okay, wait, hold. Rock aside. That Mary Kate chick was so fucking triggered by that shit. You could tell she was mad coming into this. It was great. Yeah, let's see. Or higher among. Oh, so yeah, she didn't even fucking cite this correctly. Hold on. So I'm gonna find it real quick. Hold on. We will find it real quick. And while we're in the meantime, we're gonna throw in some lo-fi. White women make me misogynistic, true. I want a full debate with that woman. She sounds like absolutely unhinged and I love it. Look. Outside of like, hold on, I gotta adjust my mic a little bit because I started fucking like